So the other day I was working on this video for this film emulation plugin for a company called Dehancer. And I watched the video back a couple times and it was basura. And I was like, yo, I can't put this video out into the world, you know? So I was racking my brain trying to come up with something new. And it's been a few days. And, you know, all of a sudden I was like, man, you just got to do something, you know what I mean? Because it ain't nothing to it but to do it. So, like, you know, I decided to come into my space here, and it's like 3:34 in the morning. And I was like, yo, I'll just come up with something. And lo and behold, I came up with absolutely nothing. So what we going to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk to you. And we're going to go on a journey together. And what we're going to do is we're just going to tell a story about how we come up with a new Dehancer video. All right. And I'll come back and I'll add footage to it later. But like I said, let's go on a journey to the future, which is really the past Paul. It's going to be the future and the past. All right. So matter of fact, let's just jump into that future past. And I'm going to add a little effect. I don't even know if I know how to do this, so I might just look stupid right now. But let's jump into the future past Paul and see what happens next. You know what I'm saying? Let's that old cartoon effect, that diddly-doo, diddly-doo. All right. So this is that future past Paul. And he's working on that video that we talked about for Dehancer, the one that turned out to be straight basura, that garbage video. And he's like, yo, I got to toss this video out. So he comes up with a new idea, and he rushes over to his laptop. But like I said, this is the land of make believe. So it's not a regular laptop. It's a typewriter. So like Paul starts typing up his ideas, and all of a sudden this beautiful white glow starts coming from the typewriter, because the ideas are flowing and they're so great, they're so beautiful, they're so fresh and unique. You know what I'm saying? And Paul is happy. So then Paul grabs the paper, he rips it out of the typewriter, and he rushes out to start working on his brand new idea. All right, so now we with the future Paul. All right, so the future Paul already did the hard work. He already did all these scenes and setups for you, and he got all the footage and resolve, and he's using that Dehancer to get that beautiful film look that we all try to get. You know what I'm saying? But what's this? It's another Paul. It's another Paul, you know what I'm saying? Because that Paul is working hard filming the video that you're watching right now. That is the video that talks about the video that we're going to have for the new Dehancer video, because we scrapped the old Dehancer video. You know what? Let's jump back. Let's jump back to the Paul that was sitting on the couch. Yeah. So we back to Paul on the couch, all right? Before we go any further, let me tell you this. That Dehancer, they reached out to me and they said, yo, Paul, would you be interested in trying out our film emulation plugin? You know what I'm saying? They didn't say it like that. It was a little bit more professional, but they're asking me if I would try it out, you know? And I had heard of Dehancer, and I've seen some videos on Dehancer on YouTube, and I've tried other film emulation plugins before, some with Final Cut. And this is something that I thought, you know, it'd be kind of dope to try out on Resolve, because that's where I edit now. And, you know, full disclosure, they said, hey, Paul, if you use it and you put a review out, good or bad, then you get to keep the software. So be honest with you, if it was bad, I didn't like it, then you wouldn't be seeing this video. So spoiler alert, I like the software. You know what I'm saying? I like the plugin. There's some positives, obviously, but there's a couple negatives. I'll get to those later. But before we jump in to some footage and how we can use Dehancer to get that little extra on top, I'll tell you this, like, this is not a thing that I normally do. This is not a place where I don't do gear reviews and I don't do product stuff, and not that I'm necessarily against anything. It's just what I like to do here is talk about lighting mostly, and the tools that I use to get the image that I want. So like, after trying this out, I feel like it does add that little extra. And, you know, I'm not here making a commercial, and I'm not here necessarily trying to sell you on anything. I'll give you the same advice that I always give with the lights and camera gear and anything else, which is like, you know, these are all tools. And, you know, if you have the budget and it's something that you feel like you can make your money back on, if you got the clients, if you got the work, or if it's something that you really feel you can work with that'll give you that image that you're going for, then, you know, it's something I say consider. But we'll get into the pluses and the minuses a little bit later in this video. So let's jump to that future Paul as he kind of like works on some of these light setups in Resolve with Dehancer. You know what I'm saying? All right, so this is the future Paul, and I shot some stuff. I did some like one light setups, and when I was doing this, I was like, yo, I could probably use that for another video. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a one light setup video, and then I'll put that out before I put this one out. So if when you're seeing this, if you haven't seen the other one, take a look at it. I'll put it in the description, but I'll probably try to link it up here somewhere, and you can check it out. All right, so I'm gonna run through this really, really quickly because it's not that crazy. It's not that hard to understand. But it's a super powerful tool and it's easy to use. So that's one of the reasons I really like it. So I'm gonna jump into the screen so you can see what I got going on. All right, so I'm gonna show you a little bit of what Dehancer can do. I've already kind of brought it into Rec 709. Normally I would do that myself with the color space transform, but just to show you the tools that you have here in Dehancer, you can come in here, you can choose your camera, you can choose your, I chose the Komodo 6K because that's what I shot on. But it's got everything on here. You can come in here, Panasonic, you got the Fujis, you got the Sony down here. Whatever it is you shot on, you put it in, it'll automatically bring it into Rec 709. So I did that so you guys could kind of like see what's going on. And as soon as I do that, I always come straight into this film section right here. This is where you have your stocks. So you get a bunch of stuff. You can kind of come in through here and you can see, they got a bunch of like, photography ones. And obviously they have the film one. So you got the Vision 3. I like to do the 500T or the 200T. You can do either one. You can even mess with the 250D. You can mess with all of them. But like the T, I like the way it looks. And you can kind of come in here and you can push and pull, which is like essentially warms it up, cools it down, whatever. Kind of has that shift with that magenta that you can kind of see here. But I want to kind of leave it like right around here for now. And I immediately jump over to the print. So this is kind of like, I haven't shot on film. So everything I'm sharing with you is just like my understanding of film just from researching it, but also like in terms of like trying to use the software to kind of explain the how this thing works. But like essentially, I guess it's like the digital equivalent to like using a LUT basically. So when you have your film process, you print it out, and then these characteristics that come from this, depending on how you print it out, it gives you a special look. So normally you can come in here and choose any of these. Cineon Film Log will basically just let you create your own look, but we go with the Kodak 2383. It's actually kind of built into Resolve, but they have it here in this tool, in their plugin, so you can kind of come in here and do your thing. So enable it, and you immediately see that it gives it this kind of look. So again, like mine was a little bit underexposed. So I come in here, I can kind of mess with the white level, so I can get it a little bit more whiter, a little bit more warm in that backlight over here. Obviously I came in and I adjusted exposure a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. And you can come in here. What I do is a lot of times is the color density is usually around, well, let's set it to 0. It's at 0, and I'll come in and I'll mess with it just so you can get those deep colors that you get when you're shooting on film. You know what I mean? You can even mess with the saturation and bring it back a little bit if you don't like it. But I usually kind of like pump up the color density a lot. And then if I don't like the color, I bring down the saturation a little bit. But for now, I think that works. So I do that. And then what I do is I come and I jump back up here to film compression. And here you can kind of like mess with these 4 different sliders here. I don't do too much like with the tonal range here, because like I think it starts to give it like that weird digital look, because the way with the specular highlights, all this other stuff. So I don't do a lot of stuff here, but I definitely come into the color density. I kind of mess with it here. I'm not seeing too much, but depends on the image. You can come in here and get a little bit deeper, richer type colors. I'm not getting a lot from the impact here either, but essentially that's what I come in here and I do. Now, this is where you get a lot of the look. And I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see what happens when you throw that film grain on here. The good thing about this, let's see if it plays back. Yeah, it plays back pretty smooth here. So you can kind of see, it doesn't function kind of like an overlay. It's just kind of like ingrained in there. It's just like if it's part of the image. I really like that. I like that look. You can come in here, you can mess with 16, 35, 8 if you really want that big thick grain on there. But I usually just kind of stick with this. Or you can come in here and you can customize it, and you can do your own thing. You can mess with the size of it. You can, break it bigger, smaller, the amount, whatever. I come in here, depending on the project, you can come in here and do whatever it is you want to do. But for now, I'll kind of leave it there. Let me bring it down a little bit. Yeah, I just leave it there. You got different other categories on here that you can kind of mess with now. Halation, I think that's like a big thing now, especially on YouTube. Everyone talks about it. You can kind of come in here and see. It's kind of hard to see because I think the only thing would be that, yeah, the back of my head there and that light back there. They have different, what do you call it? Different profiles you can mess with. I think this one is, yeah, that one goes nuts right there. So like, obviously you want to bring that down. And I don't do, when I'm doing this, I don't go crazy with the halation like that. I'll just stick with the, where'd it go? I'm sorry. I just kind of stick here with the 35, or I'll mess with the, yeah, I'll just stick with the Super 35 one, and I just kind of mess with it a little bit. Same thing goes with the bloom. I don't go too crazy with the bloom, especially because I use like filters on my lenses. You can mask out and kind of see where everything's blooming. I think that's a little too much, but I just kind of like bring it back a little, just get a little subtle bloom. And you can kind of see it here when you, let me show you a little bit, when you zoom in, turning it on and off, especially right there in my hat, you can kind of see it. You can see it in the window a little bit. But yeah, this is great too if you didn't shoot with the filter and you want a little bit of bloom. And I won't go through the rest of these, like not too much, but the film damage, you can come in here and you can add that, get some crackles and some different things going on the screen. Film breath, gate weave, so it kind of moves around a little bit. The overscans, which is like, boom. Vignette. So, I mean, essentially you can come in here and spend some time and you can really get really close to film. I kind of like, you can tell the big difference between these two right here. This one I did Dehancer, and I spent a little bit more time because I didn't want to like waste your time on here going crazy. But like, you can kind of see like this is what it looked like with me just barely tweaking anything and messing with stuff. But then you can kind of see here I've got the Dehancer on, and you can kind of see what I did, which is like I went to 200T here, mess with it here, I messed with the compression a little bit. 2383, I mess with this kind of stuff. And then normally what I like to do after I do that is I'll come in and do a little bit more correcting. As you can see here, I kind of like threw a little mask on there to kind of get, me to be the focus there. I made some tweaks. I made a lot of tweaks there, you know what I mean? Like to the color. And I think if I was to put this out, I'd probably come in here and mess with the color density a little bit to get it a little more punch to it. You know what I mean? Same thing goes here. I think I threw Dehancer on here. You can kind of like see the before when this is just basically with the Rec 709. And then this is what happens when you throw Dehancer on there. I would definitely come in here and I would kind of like mess with the, where'd it go? I would kind of mess with the exposure a little bit, but I also kind of mess with the contrast. Or you could just come in here and kind of mess with the contrast and get it where you want it. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty powerful tool. Like I said, I think at one point in the video, it is pretty taxing on your system. But for this kind of like one-off thing that I'm doing, I actually was able to throw Dehancer on here and I didn't have too much of a problem. Every once in a while, I'll kind of like skip a little bit. I miss a frame here or there. But in general, it plays back somewhat smooth. It doesn't look too bad. And you know what? I'm at half resolution. So if I was to play the full 6K, I can show you that it stutters a little bit there. So if you let it render, I've done that before. I let it render and it plays out pretty decent. But I mean, like I said, if you come in here and you functioning at like 3K or whatever, I mean, you can get it done. It'll play back. It'll look good. All right, so this is the way that I've been using Dehancer. I didn't go through every single feature. But, if you got any questions, just let me know down in the comment section. All right. I think there's some pros and cons to it. Let me hit you with the cons just real fast because there's only a couple really. And I think number one is the price. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put the price on the screen. It's pretty expensive. And if it's something that you're not going to use frequently, then it's something that you might really, really, really want to think about before you pull the trigger on it. If you do decide to go with it, Dehancer is offering a discount code. It's 10% off. It'll give you 10% off. It also helps me out on the other end if you decide to use it. But again, like the way that I roll, baby, is that make sure this is something that something that you're gonna use before you pull that trigger on something that's this expensive. But I do find it helpful. I think is low key. I think it's a no brainer if you are a Adobe user, if you're on Final Cut, because you don't have those color tools. You don't have a lot of these tools in neither one of those. So if you are a DaVinci Resolve user, it becomes a little bit harder to recommend it, especially if you don't have the Pro. I don't say especially if you don't have the Pro version. I think the Pro version might be in like the 300 range or something like that, and you can get a lot of these tools in Resolve. Now, I will say that things like, for example, like the film grain in Dehancer is just more. I want to say it's like more organic. It's part of the actual image, and it's not like an overlay thing. So if that stuff is important to you, and that's something that you also might want to consider when you're making that final decision. But yeah, I mean, if you're a Resolve user and you want to go through the process and you want to get that film look, is completely possible. But as you saw in some of these examples, I mean, this is something where it's just like, boom, Rec 709, and you could throw Dehancer on there and then just make a couple tweaks, and then you can get your video out. So if that's something you're interested in, that's something for you to know. The pros, we saw the pros. I mean, you can get that film look pretty easily, pretty quickly if you want to. You could also go in there and just do your own grade, and then just use Dehancer at the end for that little something extra. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, once again, if you decide to use it, promo code is gonna be down in the description, 10% off. Thank you to Dehancer for sending this over for me to try out. I really enjoyed it. It's something I'm definitely gonna be using for my projects moving forward. For all the projects where I feel like it makes sense. So yeah, one more thing is Dehancer has an app for your phone, and it works on photos, it works on videos, and it has a lot of the same tools. You got the same film stocks. You got the print. You got all the other tools on here, and I'll probably have some examples going while I'm talking. But you can go on here and you can take that iPhone footage that a lot of times has that super crisp, sharp, clinical look. You know what I mean? And you can get that nice film look with it with these Dehancer tools. So try it out. I think I'll leave a description down here for you for the app. And I think there's a free trial on it too. So you got nothing to lose. Try it out. Other than that, I'll see you guys the next time. You know what I'm saying?